Here from All Media Reviews. Like I said, the previous video I just shot and finished. Record Store Day haul video. I got a bunch of items, though I only got one Record Store Day item. I think, yeah. Um, Not that many. I think I picked up like six or seven. Not that many, but I mean, I spent some money, and my wife got about as many. It was a kind of an adventurous day, but she wants to do a video, but if we don't do a video in the next say week, I'll just end up showing my stuff. It did for Black Friday, Record Store Day. So, but I've even it came to my mind a few months ago about Record Store Day after seeing the new list. The when they put out the list a couple months, but it was like in February sometime. Record Store Day items, the special releases, quote unquote special releases, there's been a lot of repetition, a lot of the same artists, largely probably because these are driven by the labels who are trying to get stuff out. And so those artists are on those labels, which is kind of, in some ways, like major label stuff is sort of not the antithesis of what a record store is supposed to do. Record stores are generally trying to fight for the independent artist, independent musician, for the most part, not entirely the indie and that, but the whole point of Record Store Day started, I guess, officially in 2007, but that was just like in a couple of areas. Chris Brown from Bull Moose and maybe one or two other stores did it. The first year really that I remember was 2008, but you just went, they gave you like, there was like candy and like goodie bags and stickers and stuff like that. That was it. And then you were just shopping for records. I went to the Electric Fetus. While it was relatively crowded, it was like that year, the year after, Chris Cornell was there, and I said some words to him about Kevin Gilbert, and he looked at me like, "So what? Yeah, I know he is." Um, but it wasn't about special releases. I mean, it was crowded. You're trying to like the whole point of Record Store Day was to sort of because many record stores, larger record stores like Tower Records and the Virgin megastores were dying out and closing, and a lot of local record stores, places like Let It Be Records and Twin Cities here, and even though I only went there one time, there's some others that I'm not thinking of. Um, didn't survive. A couple of the locations, like No Name and down in the valley, there were more locations at one point. So record stores were struggling. Largely, they thought it was because of the downloading culture and digital music. Which, yeah, that's true. Digital music is still existing. It's just not so much in downloading. It's more just the streaming. So that was the reason for it. But it wasn't about to get like the major labels, these mega artists involved. It was about the little guy mostly, supporting the little guy because the major labels aren't necessarily relying on record stores. A lot of their stuff can be found at your big box stores like Walmart and Target. Um, that's what it was. The first couple of years there were no special releases, and it was fine. You know. Plus, it wasn't just about records. It was go buy CDs too, which is a whole nother topic. CD store day is happening. I want to get. I want to maybe participate. My wife doesn't care about it, but anyway. But then they started in 2000. It was the first Black Friday because the first couple of years of Record Store Day there was no Black Friday record store. You could go to the record store on Black. They were open on Black Friday. It was all about the big box stores and the deals that for Black Friday, but they decided, okay, 2011, they'd done Record Store Day for a few years, and they're like, we should just have items for them to buy like they do on the big stores, big box stores, the special, prices and stuff like that. The stuff was discounted. Well, I don't know if stuff was really discounted on the first Black Friday Record Store Day, but they had special items. It was only like 30 or 40. All this stuff, the archives are on recordstoreday.com. So then the next year was sort of the first official Record Store Day special releases that I'm not certain of that, but I'm thinking it was 2012. And so on recordstoreday.com, there's an archive of the special releases for every year, 2012 through 2025, for the US. I think it's primarily, I mean, for a large time, I think it was just US, but then, I don't know, maybe about a little over 10 years ago, maybe it was like 2013, 2014, 2015. After the first year, then some other countries got involved and got their own. That's why certain like Chromeo and the Marillions, the Marillion was in Europe. The Grendel picture disc I never got, and the Ocean Sizes had a couple, just like Black Friday, I think it was, or was it last Record Store Day? The Ocean Size Home and Minor EP was issued just in England. But the gist of it is still the same, anyways. I mean, there's like a dozen countries: Japan, Canada, Mexico, a few other territories. I think Australia that have their own Record Store Day list, but the bulk of the stuff I'm of the belief is still on that recordstoreday.com list. So I went through, been doing this research and trying to do some spreadsheet, filtering, and I'm not completely done with it, but I did both Record Store Day separately from a Black Friday Record Store Day to see, just to go over some of the numbers. I'm not putting a visual, I'm not virtually doing it. I haven't done that in a long time, so I'll just have to like copy paste a graph that I made. But I posted in the blog. David Bowie, for example, has done 33 special release items just on Record Store Day. But he's by far the most that I could tell. I didn't include various artists on these statistics, but the Grateful Dead have 19, Sun Ra have 16, Soul Jazz Records. I'm not sure that's like a sample. They've done 14. The Doors have done 14. So like 14, like David Bowie. Obviously, there've been several years that David Bowie had more than one. Bill Evans at 13. Prince has done 12. The Cure 12. The Flaming Lips 12. Miles Davis 11. Rockabye Baby. I don't know if that's actually a label or a Rockabye Baby. Yeah, that Soul Jazz Records was Soul Jazz Records Presents. I cut that off. Rockabye Baby, whatever that is, 11. The Kinks 11. The Rolling Stones 11. Bruce Springsteen had 10. Tangerine Dream had 9. America had 9. Def Leppard 9. Dio. Now there's Ronnie James Dio and Dio. Those are I didn't combine those, but he just under Dio is 9. Not including if any of the Sabbath or Rainbow stuff was on here. Elton John 9, Frank Zappa 9, Hawkwind 9, Motorhead 9, The Residents 9, Vitamin String Quartet. Those are those tributes. They've had 9 of them. Air. So you get down to 8, 8, 7. I mean, it goes down. The total list is 4100. It's like 41,000, 4100 rather, 4100 and like 76. If I'm not, so like a lot, like a few thousand are like what 4117. Um, not counting various artists. So you see that and say, well, okay, why? A lot of these have been repeat. The Grateful Dead, like live recordings and stuff like that, of course. The Doors, and then you have other artists like Michael Jackson or Mariah Carey who have never been on here once. I don't think. So that's kind of, it's kind of my theory, my perception of this data. U2 is in here for 7 times, the Allman Brothers 7 times, the Zombies. I mean, I like a lot of these, although I've not necessarily bought a lot of these because I'm not a must buy completionist collector for a lot of these artists, even though I have a few of their records. Um, I just ELP has 6. I mean the prog bands, a lot of them have been in here. I can't remember if there's any that really have not. King Crimson was one of them, maybe. Yes has been in here how many times? 5 times. That's just for record sorted. And then there's Black. Actually, I'm looking at. Oh, this is the combined unsorted. Okay, my bad. Because I've done a bunch of lists. If I labeled this right, record sorted rank numbers. Yeah, but it just kind of goes to show it's like there's evidence here that certain artists show up frequently, other artists that don't, like Jethro Tull seems to be in here every time, and I love Jethro Tull, a lot of their records, but I don't need to buy every little Jethro Tull album. I mean, if it was Marillion, I've made a few exceptions for Rush. Dream Theater's only been here a couple times. They have the one picture disc, which picture discs don't even play anyway. They sound terrible, but it's for an album and a song I don't even necessarily like that much, the Illumination Theory. But um, I just think even though you'll have some of these artists that have been in here like once or twice, like Mew was on here, I think maybe the two they had like two maybe. I think they had two. Yeah, they had both Frengers and Kites. Um, it is a little bit frustrating when you see a lot of this stuff, and it's like my wife and I, in many years, we look at the record store list. It's like there's nothing in here I really need, and then I end up sometimes buying one of the items, but um, that's the thing, and that was kind of the thing is that you look forward to the special releases. Of course, the prices are also at what they are, and it's just that's another point of contention. That was when they started bringing these special releases, the major labels especially. It's like, yeah, and we can sell them for even more than we would normally sell them for, and it's become it. And this isn't new, but it's become almost more about a sort of a capitalistic mentality, kind of like Black Friday at your Targets, at your WalMarts, at your 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 department stores and clothing stores and stuff like that, where it's either about selling more quantity or selling very rare items. The irony is that this Friday night, my wife might tell more about this. That there was some these Kate Spade stuff that went on sale in limited quantities at Targets, and we she was freaking out, but we did manage to get what she needed at two different Targets, two or three different Targets, I think. But yeah, that's kind. I mean, I'm gonna finish the research and publish. I'll publish the Friday list, not the whole thing, because I'm not gonna put 4,000 names on the. It's too. Even if I made it the smallest font on the blog, it's too many. I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 entries. It's too much quantity over quality. So I just did every artist that was at five or more. And maybe I'll the Black Friday list, of course, is because the special release lists on Black Friday are always a fraction of what the actual record store day list is. But I don't know if I'll still put the full thing. I may do five or more or three or more. But and it just kind of goes back to it will kind of illustrate my belief that they're you're getting a lot of the same artists every year. Although we've had better luck with Black Friday, in fairness, not necessarily every year, but I say ever since we've struggled, well, it'll be like maybe a year or two where there's a lot of stuff we're looking forward to. Like she got her Katie Lang and um, King Zax, of course. The Saigon Kick I never got, unfortunately, the Lizard vinyl. Still haven't got to this day. But there's been many years where there was barely anything really to be excited about. The Black Friday list sometimes has stuff we can be. The other thing about Black Friday, which is the best part at this point about Black Friday, is probably partly because everyone on Black Friday is going to the actual big box stores. They're not thinking they want to go buy music. So Black Friday Record Store Day isn't anywhere near the crowd. We still don't go to the Electric Fetus. I think we maybe did once recently because we went to the Electric Fetus the first probably five. I went there before I met my wife, but yeah, the first like 7 or 8 record stores because there's been like 14 of them. But the last 6, 7, 8, the last 8 Black Fridays we haven't even bothered with. We went maybe once later in the day, but it's not worth it. But on Black Friday, rather than the normal record store day in April, it's just not nearly as crowded. And it's like the other whole point of going to record store day, or if it's, in this case it's Black Friday, is just to shop for records, not necessarily the special releases, and maybe finding a deal. I think it was last year, the year before on Black Friday. I think it was last year we went to Agarda Records in St. Paul, and I found a bunch of records for $5 or less. You know, Granted, I'm looking at my collection here and the space we have here. I need to purge or something because I don't have a strong desire to be collecting, you know, dozens of $3 records that I want in my collection because I like that album now just to have, because from a standpoint of practicality and responsibility and just ownership versus playing, so but there is something to be said about, just buying stuff on your budget and finding good deals, finding rare, maybe rare items or maybe not, so just getting good deals. I'm actually thinking I did see I would be telling this in the video with my wife, but I did see a Rush picture disc. Again, picture disc I don't love, but a few years ago I bought the Yes going for the one picture disc, which doesn't have the greatest cover. It's not Roger Dean. It's got the naked guy on the back, kind of like Rush's. Thinking of Rush, um, Hemispheres. But it's not the value. Whereas the Rush one is like a Signals artwork, which is interpretive. So that one I was thinking maybe I could do is sell my Yes, going for the one picture disc. Consider at least doing that. See how much that goes for a Discogs, I guess, and maybe picking up, doing like an exchange or whatever it would cost me. And it was at the Cheapo in Little Canada, the new one. So, and it's starting to rain here. Of course, my wife isn't home from work, and she's gonna probably have to drive through it. But that's kind of the rant. I'll probably post something on my just a whatever you want to call the community, like it's called posts now. They don't call it community. When I finish the ranking, if I publish that, of all the numbers, all the top fives or whatever, then maybe what I need to do separately, unless I come up with it sooner than later, come up with a list of top 10 or top 20 artists, bands that either have rarely, if ever, like maybe one or two items most, or none. have been on Record Store. Now, Marillion is kind of weird because again, I'd have to really do some research, like on the because recordstoreday.com doesn't have the I have to look through my list here, but they don't have necessarily the UK Record Store Day list. So, because I know they were in there at least once for the Grendel. I think they may have been in more than once, but they were probably it was just in the UK. So I don't know if like the Steve Hoffman forums or some other ones. Just do a Google because Marillion obviously would be on that list because I don't think I've ever found a Marillion Record Store Day item. I could quickly look on my list. It's Google Docs, and just see here if they were on the list. I think I would have noticed. My favorite band. It kind of becomes an eye catching. The other thing I want to do. No, I don't see it. So yeah, I mean, they'd be on the list. Kevin Gilbert hasn't been. I don't expect anything from Kevin Gilbert other than maybe. Well, I mean, Tuesday Night Music Club was in there, but I wouldn't expect Kevin Gilbert's estate to really ever want to put anything. It'd be nice, but why would they do it? The different hoops and of course they'd have to be the stuff that they control. Stuff like Thud they don't control or Toy Matinee. It'd have to be one of the stuff they've sold through the estate. And I don't think it's ever going to happen. So Kevin Gilbert and Marillion, by default are the top of the list. But I have to do a little research on just to find out just how many times Marillion has even been on Record Store Day in the UK. But I don't know if the UK and the other territories have a Black Friday because I don't think they do have the Christmas shopping season, but I don't know. I'm not sure. It's really more just in the U.S. for that Black Friday part of it. But yeah, I'll try doing that and then follow up. But hopefully because I got some good stuff. It's just they weren't Record Store Day special releases. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.